Welcome to the City Advertising and Promotion Commission Workshop for February the 9th at 5 p.m. How is everybody?
Good.
Good? Good. So, we got quite a bit, so let's just get started. Scott, in our last meeting, we talked about some ordinance stuff, and so Scott, I think, has been doing some work and has a presentation for us. Maybe he can help us understand this.
Is there a costume change involved in the presentation?
There could be. We could arrange such. I've got to take this mask off. Okay, Ron, you want to put my... Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you can tell, we've been doing quite a bit of work for you today on the topics of finance. I've tried to label it easily so you could go to pages when we're talking about certain subjects. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is the delinquent taxpayers on CAPC.biz website. That's listed on page number 2 of your handout. At the bottom, 1/3, it talks about what a prior commission on November 9, 2016 had agreed to do. And that was to add delinquent taxpayers to the CAPC.biz website. And I'd like to open that up for discussion because we're not doing that. I don't know if it's ever been done. But back in November 9, 2016, the commission voted to have that done. So technically, I want to try and be in compliance with what former commissions have done. And I've read the minutes from 2010 through last year and made some notes, and this is one that kind of concerned me because I want to make sure that we're following what our predecessors had agreed to do. So I'll leave that up for discussion.
Well, this is the guy we need to ask right here. James was in this meeting, so
Correct.
let's get James's thoughts on this, and he can
Good
kind of
deal.
enlighten us on this. And
You are correct on that.
no, you're fine.
You just like to make an entrance.
We
We just started. No,
No voting today.
actually, we need your...
We need your expertise.
So let me just update you, James. Scott is, he's been on the job now 100 days.
A little over 100 days.
He's just going through a lot of old minutes, trying to make sure we're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing. He's working with ordinances, and he's updating us. And what he's talking about is that in November 9th, 2016, there's some meeting minutes here where you guys voted at that time to have all of the delinquent reports on the website. Because we're currently not doing that.
Mr. DeVito, that would be on page number 1 of my handout.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you're asking, do I remember something from 6 years ago?
No, sir. I need to get, I suppose, permission to add delinquent taxpayers to the website.
Second
or
page of the next of the minutes, there's what he's talking about. It's highlighted.
You know,
on the second.
actually, the more important question was, did we ever change it back?
That's
Because we
right.
should be in compliance with what the commission ordered. And thank you for going back and figuring this out. It sounds like they may have decided to do that as maybe an encouragement for people to be on time.
I believe that is the correct statement, having read the minutes for the past 10 years or 9 years. They were trying to, in my opinion, there was an effort to try and alert taxpayers to the issue if we're not filing on time. I don't really have a personal preference on this. I just wanted to bring it to the commission and let you guys know what I know, and we can, I need to know what you want me to do. That's really where I'm at.
Well, unless we attend a voting meeting where we decide to vote this down, I would say it stands.
I would agree with that.
I
So
agree.
if you want to look and make sure that there's not another ordinance where they struck this down, or they...
There is not.
Okay. Then I
There
say
is
we
not.
should be in compliance, and if anybody wants to if we want to put it on a meeting and change it, I don't see any reason to, but...
I don't either, and I think that our our good CAPC tax-paying stakeholders would probably prefer that we remove those of a delinquency of a certain period of time from eurekasprings.org's website. I mean, why are we advertising them if they're not going to be paying?
Okay.
That's part of the discussion tonight.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I have your blessing / authority, and I'll do it in a way that's non-confrontational, and it'll just be, here it is, here's your name, and you're on the delinquent list. So, and I will reach out to these people prior to, I think I should reach out to these people prior to putting them on the website. It's a courtesy.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
I think that's would be.
Yeah, there should be a chain of events.
And we're going to document what we're doing, so.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Under that same topic, number 2 of that topic, is should delinquent taxpayers be listed on the eurekasprings.org website? There has been discussion in the minutes to remove those that are delinquent, but I don't want us as a team to take that responsibility on unless you guys say, hey, that's what we want you to do, or not do. That's why I want to bring it up and talk to you now. But we do have delinquent taxpayers that are listed on the CAPC.biz website, and you just need to know that. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I just want you to know it. My job is to inform you.
Sure.
Thank you.
And I think that that's something that we could bring up in a meeting, that we could vote on that there's a certain time frame, 90 days or 6 months. I mean, I don't know what that time frame should be, but if you're still not paying after that period of time, then we can have that authority. But I don't mind being lenient and giving people plenty of time to recover and make amends.
Correct.
So,
I just really want you to know how well we're trying to comb through the data to do the best job for the commission and what other commissions have asked of the future commissions, if that makes sense. And so that's why I've got a lengthy listing here. And part of the next question is, there are some businesses on the eurekasprings.org website that have never filed a sales tax report.
yeah.
So how they got on there was way before our time, but you need to know what I'm telling you, that we have to deal with and what I see. So,
We just need to get everybody back in compliance and doing what they're supposed to be doing, so I don't see any problem with it.
So we'll have to vote on a couple of these things at the meeting, correct? Okay, so they'll just go on the agenda and vote on them. Okay. Wow, that's a surprise.
if you want to, we can move on to the second topic, which says businesses filing one return with separate CAPC tax permits. And that would be on page number 4 of your handout. And that's the one that's printed landscape, yeah. The report's entitled Delinquency Report, and the top 14, or if you look to your right, you will see that I don't have a sales tax report for those months to the right. Doesn't mean that they owe, I'm just saying I don't have them. And our ordinance says they must file monthly whether they have sales or not. A few things I've noted to the right of 2 or 3 that I found interesting. And a lot of these people I've called and said, are you open? Can I buy this from you? And they're still selling, so I know that they're open and they're not in compliance.
So is this just through the end of December
This is as of right now.
as of today?
Now, I may have missed 1 or 2 or 3, but we've got 350 taxpayers listed, and we're going through them, kind of starting with the ones that I know that aren't filing and working our way to the top, if that makes sense.
So at the bottom, it says no reports. That means
Okay.
they've never reported?
The issue I'm seeing is, for example, under business entity, the first 7, I get sales tax reports for that business, but they're operating other businesses to the right, and I have never seen a tax report on those. I don't want to call anybody out, but they're there. If the business entity's on the left, I get a tax report from that entity for that hotel, for example, but I don't see any report for the ones to the right, which is the pizza and the cottages, for example. Just wanted to make you aware that,
So we're assuming that they're combining sales, right? Is that what we think?
But we
I
don't
don't
know.
know, that's, everybody's got an assumption, and I'm just telling you the facts. And they don't remit anything to tell me that this includes this, and this entity. It's just, here it is.
I
We need
noticed
to add
that,
that to a
Yeah, I
next
noticed-
meeting, that we need to
Well,
have some
we need,
differentiation.
I think we need more clarification what the law requires, right?
Okay.
I think there needs to be more involvement with
I agree.
municipal league or city attorney, and possibly even, I know Scott has been, we just finished up our audit from last year, and Scott's been in contact with the auditor out of
Right.
Harrison, and they've been asking questions. I know Scott's on it. I just think we need more information. It's going to take time for them to put this together.
Okay, sounds good.
I noticed the last two with no reports, those have recently, those are both recently sold, I believe.
That's correct, and that happened on December the 2nd, if my memory's correct.
So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, I wanted to make sure you had your report, and this is current as of about a couple of hours ago.
Great.
Okay. If you want to, we can move on to the third section, which is collection policy and noncompliance status, and that's page number 6 of your handout. It's actually 5 and 6. Page 5 is the time and period of the minutes, and this page 6 went with page 5, if that makes sense. So the handout that on page number 6 was approved by the commission, the CAPC commission, back on July 23rd of 2014. And the policy is there before you, and I wanted to bring this to your attention because I want to make sure I have the backing to start enforcing this, if that's what you want, or if you want to make changes. I really want to make sure that I don't get out there on a limb and get it sawed off on me, if that makes sense. I need to know what you want me to do, but this is what was passed by the commission. I've read it, and it's to the point, and it is, I think it's well written, to be honest with you, but I'm your enforcer, not a commissioner.
You think this is adequate, and do we 100% know for sure it's compliant with the law?
No, I don't know about the compliant with the law part.
Okay.
I think this is something you need to, we're at the point of seeking legal advice.
We need to make sure, I think this is okay for me. I just want to make sure that from between 2014 and 2022, that there weren't any law changes or anything that we
Correct.
don't know about,
Correct.
and make sure that it's compliant, and if it is, then I don't see any changes needed for,
I know that the commission from 2010 through just last year, there's been no other addition to this. This is the
This is
last issue addressed, and here it is at that time. Now, I think we've already kind of talked onto this, but the next section was failure of taxpayer to file sales tax reports on a monthly basis. And that was the delinquency part of 1 through 21, and that was basically speaking about that group, but I think we've already talked about that. And another interesting topic is we have businesses, and they sometimes are delinquent in paying their taxes, or they're in arrears, meaning more than 60 days, or they're not filing at all. And they have an ABC permit to sell beer and hard liquor and wine. Now, I've been in touch with ABC in Little Rock, and I haven't received my answer, but my question to them was, at what point do I notify ABC in Little Rock that this taxpayer is not current with paying their tax? And when I do that, it's going to set a whole nother motion. They're going to come and pull their license. And so until I hear back from ABC, I can't report as to what they recommend. But I want you to know that there are delinquent taxpayers or tardy taxpayers that aren't paying on time that hold alcohol and beer license. So
Are the fees that the ABC charges, some of those are separate from what our tax is, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So what would happen is if we ask where is the reporting on our money, you're saying that might trigger the
understand.
ABC to ask for others.
I understand where you're going. There's 193 pages to the ABC ordinance for the state of Arkansas, and I've read them. I can't repeat them by verbiage, but I understand the content of the law. And toward about the 114th page in that area, it addresses the responsibility of other taxing entities to report non-tax compliant to ABC. And when that occurs, then ABC will go out and find out what the problem is. And if it's not corrected, I think within 14 days, they'll pull that license.
Wow.
That's on page 114, I'm pretty sure, somewhere in that area. Anyway, these are topics I want to talk to you about that I see that I feel you need to understand, and so I could do the job you want me to do. Next section, number 4, affidavit of publication, that's on page 7. This was something I think that the commission back on October 10th of 2014 published in the paper notifying, giving public notice as to what action we were going to take with delinquency, and I thought that was very good, and at some point I'd like to see us do that again at the proper time. But that public notice, I think, is necessary when we make these changes, because it's going to be letting people know that we're going to have to enforce the ordinances, and this is the only way I know how to do it. Of course, we'll contact people, but the public notice is important. But I wanted to make sure you had a copy of what the prior commissions had done. Another topic down toward the bottom called web link fee. I believe it was in September of 2012 or 14. I think it was 12. The commission passed a motion that those businesses located outside the city limits of Eureka Springs would have to pay a web link fee of $750 to be listed on the eurekasprings.org website. We currently have 3 vendors that are participating in that, but in fairness, we have vendors outside the city limits that are not paying that fee, that are listed on the website. So it's a lack of enforcement, but I want you to understand what was done years ago. We either are going to ask businesses outside Eureka Springs to pay or to be on the website, or we're not. But I want to be fair to people, and right now it's mixed. So remember, I'm bringing you these subjects for discussion. And I've had a couple of them call me that are paying the fee and asking, and they realize that there's others outside the city limits that are listed on the website that we operate, and so they're looking to, I guess, for equity, fairness.
So I think there's a couple points of discussion here for the web link fee. One, do we continue to allow this at all? Do we want to continue to have businesses that are outside of the city limits on our website regardless of a fee or not? 2, if we do we charge them a fee like they have in the past? And I think that's where, we would like your advice. Do you guys like that? Obviously, they set this up for some reason, right? It hasn't been done correctly because we know there are people on our eurekasprings.org website that have not paid our annual fee. So if you want to keep it that way, we will clean it up and do it, as they suggested doing it in the past. Do you want to change it at all? What are your guys' thoughts on this whole discussion topic here?
I would think we would need to really establish what a true value is of being a member inside the city. And is 750 a good approximation of that? How much of a headache is it for you guys to track it and check it?
To track what exactly?
To track, say this person is outside the city, they want to be a part of it, they want to pay the 750, but you guys would have to keep up with, are they paying monthly, just like you would
Well,
for delinquents?
It's a yearly.
it would be only for Scott might tell me differently. I think it's only an annual fee just to be listed on our website.
Correct.
They're outside of the city limits, so they do not collect taxes.
Correct.
And, I think that's kind of a broader discussion as well. Where do we cut it off, right? Are we going to, obviously, we're not going to list someone from Rogers, right? So where's the cutoff point there? And I'd like your guys' advice on that as well.
Well, and is that fair to our collectors?
And is that
What do
fair,
our
right?
collectors think about
Exactly.
it?
So,
Well, I think the question is, what is the benefit to the overall community of Eureka Springs to list outside the city limits? Does it provide a benefit for all of the tax collecting entities within the city? Is it a big attraction, let's say,
right.
that draws hundreds of thousands of people? Yeah, that would benefit everybody in the city of Eureka Springs to have it listed.
You're right.
So
I think
for
maybe.
Good example, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
Good example, that's Passion Play. They're outside of the city limits. They do draw. I don't know what their numbers are, but they do draw. And
50,000.
are they listed on our website? Passion Play?
I actually don't know.
I don't think they are.
I don't think they are.
And I know they're not listed as a taxpayer on our.
Correct, because
I know they're not.
They're not in the city limits. So, look, I think this is a very big topic. And I like the fact that we're getting on it now, but I think that we really need time to think about this. Everybody needs time to think about this, and we need to come back with a plan to
If we
help
could
them.
get a list of who all is outside the city limits.
Sure, that's on the-
listed on the
And we
website.
need more data.
We need more data. I would be interested in you guys reaching out to some other AMPs
Okay.
and seeing how they do this, and if they have a range that they go by mileage, or just whatever they do, and just report that back to us.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm only concerned about just exactly like what you said. What's the cutoff point, and how do we decide that? And maybe it's everybody who's outside of the city limits that wants to be listed on the website and pay the fee, whatever that may be, presents to the commission. I don't know. Maybe it's a commission meeting. I have no idea. But we'll definitely do that. I'll take a look at what the other AMP commissions do. I'll get you guys a list of what's currently listed on the website that's outside of the city limits. We'll try and get that for you guys for the next meeting.
I need to try and contact the Hot Springs Promotion Commission and for another reason, but I'll reach out to them this week. We'll
So-
talk to them.
Will you please put this on your question to ask? Can a business outside of the city limits opt into the tax program? That would qualify them to be on the website,
No,
and we would
they
be,
can't.
that can't be
They
done?
can't.
They
Okay.
have to be inside the.
They have to be inside the city limits. That's just the way. Now, our sphere of influence does extend beyond the city.
It definitely does.
Yes, but they can't pay the tax outside. The Passion Play could not pay the tax and get the benefit of everything accrued through the tax.
Okay.
But I'll reach out to the Hot Springs. I have some issues I need to talk to them. I get some information, and we'll have some more next meeting.
Yeah, and I'll reach out to all of my contacts.
Just a side point, we actually did get the state to give us that loophole to allow the Passion Play to collect an attraction tax.
That's what I
But
thought.
that was before we adopted the ANP ordinance in 2007 that everybody goes by. So
Okay.
there was a special ordinance written for
Okay.
Eureka Springs from the get-go.
That's why I mentioned that, is because I thought at one time
Yeah,
somebody
they
told me
did.
that the Passion Play had paid
That's
into
correct.
the tax program.
But see, we had to get
was
the law changed to do that.
I got you. Okay, fair enough. Okay, moving along.
All right?
Anything else on that? I know that's a pretty deep, yeah, it's a lot to think about.
The next to the last section, it says update gross receipts monthly, tax monthly report, page number 8. If you'll turn to page 8 of your handout, I went back to the ordinance, and if you look under the category of lodging, category of food and beverage, those listings are straight from the ordinance. I think Ms. Autumn had raised some issues with collections and reporting. I wanted you to see this, and also, if we're going to improve this listing, we need to add a couple of more categories. And I'll talk about reporting after this. I think Ms. Autumn was concerned about Airbnb. I think we should probably have a category strictly for Airbnb, just so you can see the revenue coming in from that source. You probably need to have a category for breweries, mobile food trucks, and pastry shops. Now, most people think that mobile food trucks are carryout. They're not. If you look up the definition in Webster's dictionary, they're not. We have a carryout, but we don't have a mobile food truck category, and we probably need to have a mobile food category. Now, I keep up with all this on Excel spreadsheet. All these categories, I can tell you at any time what we're doing. We're not tracking that on the income statement, okay? To do that, it's going to be very lengthy, time-consuming. Can it be done? Yes. But the value of it has got to be determined by you. What are you going to learn from driving restaurants over a period of time, and you see their sales go up or down by a few dollars? How are you going to use that for your planning? So that's the question I have is, if you're going to use this data, I can put it in your income statement. But to put it in there just because it looks good, or they did good this week, you have to make that cost-benefit analysis. I don't know the answer to that.
But we also know that some of the reporting is not that accurate, because if we have a restaurant and a lodging and they're reporting together,
Correct.
which category do we put that in? And that means either the restaurant or the lodging is then misreported.
That's exactly the problem we're going to have, because when the ordinance was created, in my opinion, years ago, there wasn't the crossover you have now as to restaurants also could qualify as a cafe, as a takeout or carryout. It's just so much, it's convoluted. And either one of you, your opinion is just as good as mine as to what category they should be in. But we're waiting on the taxpayer to determine if this is a motel, hotel, or if this is a cafe they're operating. I don't know if the data would be reliable. I just don't.
I mean, just using my own personal experience, we have cottages, a cabin, motel rooms, and then soon we will have a house that's part of the owner's quarters that'll be, for rent. I would not even know how to differentiate and send in separate checks to the CAPC for each one.
Sometimes vendors will send in, they'll own more than one business and will send in separate tax reports for each business, but they'll pay for it on one check.
Right.
And I have the ability to go in and assign the amount they determine for each business, so that the total of those equal the check. So,
But there's definitely other lodging in town
I know.
that has multiple types,
That's right.
so.
but be mindful that I do my best to categorize the business on an Excel spreadsheet when I receive the sales tax report in. I can give you that information as a sidebar supplement to the income statement, but to add it to your income statement official, I don't know if that would, that's something you have to decide. Last but not least, I'm kind of proud of this. I've been in touch with our state auditors and state auditor approval of new filing system. It's been, there's better ways to sometimes manage a filing system, and what I inherited was when sales tax reports come in each day, they're filed by the date the deposit was made. So if I need to look up, let's say I had a restaurant and I wanted to see my sales tax reports, I would have to go back and find the date a deposit was made by CAPC. So it takes time. My proposal to the state auditors was, I want to create a sales tax folder for each business entity, so that as I receive the report and process their payments, I file it within their business folder. As time goes on, there's going to be some delinquencies, and I'm going to move that folder from current to a delinquent folder over here, so that whenever someone asks me about delinquency, I've got it right here. I'm not having to go through and pull from deposits. So the state did not have a problem with this change. Quite frankly, it's going to improve our system well, but I want you to know the change. So, and that concludes my presentation, unless anyone has a question, and you can contact me at any time. I'll be glad to work with you and explain what I know.
Thank you, Scott. This is
Awesome. Thank you,
obviously a lot of work. Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Mr. DeVito, I want to thank you for being on the commission all these years, because I saw your name so many times. I said, he's been through a lot.
And I have the scars to prove it.
You did. You know what you're talking about. Thank you.
So what I'd like to do, if you guys are okay with that, I'd like to give Scott 30 days. Our next workshop, we'll go over all this again and see where the updates are, and let you guys all think about this in the process. And then we'll try to whittle this down. Everybody's
And
comfortable
then
with that?
find out the legal answers. And
We'll get more
so on.
answers. You
Yeah.
guys will have time to think about these points, and you'll have time to reach out to Scott and share any information that you want to with him.
Well, I'm sure our collectors are going to want to weigh in because, you know, this will definitely affect them and how they will do their work as well.
Yeah, so, again, thank you. I know that was a lot, and there's a lot of moving parts there. It's a big deal. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, we should have. let's see.
Folk Festival, we're, Madison, is that you or Molly?
We should have held up cards.
That's me.
like 10.
Oh,
Actually, I
rate-
just,
no.
Nancy did such a nice job on her report, and one of the things that she recommended is that we think about what date we want to do this coming year, this year, current year. And to mention again, it is our 75th anniversary. So we want to make it extra special. It's the longest-running folk festival in the United States, and 75 is a big year. So I just wanted to remind us that we could move the date. One of the things Nancy, I think, suggested was possibly moving it into the August timeframe, because we don't have a lot going on. We could certainly lead it where it has been for several years in the fall, but she mentioned it's been at different times. So since we have the ability to set a date, I thought we could maybe discuss it and vote on it next time, because we need to get rolling on it, whenever it is.
remind me, I'm pretty sure it was November 11th, 12th, 13th.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
I think.
yeah.
Yeah. You guys have thoughts? I mean, should this be a summer event, or should we keep it in the fall? I mean, what's our input back to Madison for this event?
Do you think we'd get more people coming to it and more involvement if it was in August?
Well, I think the discussion is, in my opinion, we have a couple of months here that are a little low, and you guys know this more than me, right? So August is kind of
It's back to school.
yeah, right, a lower tax collected month, and so is November, is that right, early November?
November's.
November starts rising. So I think the question is, do you think Folk Festival is an event that stands alone, that can bring people to town, right? Or do we want to put it in a place like November, where we have people already coming to town? Is it something that we can bring to August that helps the month of August as a tax collector? Or is it something we need to keep in November?
We
I
keep,
don't think it's
have-
big enough on its own to.
You think so?
No, I don't think so.
No, you don't think
I
so?
don't see anything come from it. It's not like, oh, it's folk weekend, it's going to be busy. And I've heard that from no one ever.
Yeah, I
So I don't
agree
think
with you on that one.
So I don't think we should, differentiate out between the others, but in November, it'd be nice to kind of ramp it up for the amount of money we're putting into it, to maybe advertise it more and get more involvement.
Sure,
Since we're spending more money on that than any of the other early events.
Yeah, that's our big kind of annual event.
Because the May Festival of the Arts, I would prefer it to have more money than that for being a month long, and it's, so we need to consider that as well.
Yeah. I don't know if I disagree with you. I think Folk Festival could be something that is big enough to make a month be better, right? Everyone blames COVID, but it's a valid excuse. I think the last couple of years have, I think our numbers would have been better. We were pretty successful this year as far as Folk Festival goes. And like Carol said, I think that the 75th Annual Folk Festival, I think we should make it huge. I really do. So, I mean, I can see both sides.
I would love to see it more, have more turnout and a bigger event.
Yeah.
So I'm not against it at all. I just
I was thinking we
think we
might.
should push it.
Yeah,
We should do it.
however wherever it ends up, we might think about doing some concerts one weekend and then the following weekend, maybe the kind of people that come are usually, I think you had said they're kind of two groups. They're, older people, but they're also like mid-30s,
Yeah.
40s people that don't have little kids.
Yeah,
who
we saw
tend to go.
people who were, maybe retirees. And we also saw specifically on the night, our headliner, Todd Snyder, there were people, my age, a little bit younger, up to early 30s. People I would say that are old enough to not be in college, worry about school, but young enough that they don't have school-age kids. And then I think the other side is maybe this retiree demographic that travels whenever the event is, right? So I would agree with that.
But I think if we look into it, we might end up with some people, whether it's in November or August, we might end up with some people that would just stay through. Just because people that like this kind of music really like it. I also know that a lot of people in town, including Terry McClung especially, but a lot of people remember the early days of Folk Festival. I read recently, I think it was on something the museum put out, they actually had one Folk Festival, James, you may have been here, that attracted like 20,000 people. It was a little bit out of the city. It was in the day, I think Butch actually worked on it as a college kid or something. It was like
If you're talking about the music festival in 72,
Yes,
that had nothing to do with folk music.
Oh, well, there was a folk festival that, it was something that the Historical Museum published recently. Anyway, that was one thing. And just another suggestion, I really would think it would be really cool if we can involve a lot of the nonprofits, particularly the arts nonprofits like Writers Colony, ESSA, and other people whenever we do it. And I know at one point in time, the Folk Festival had a real folk-like demonstration thing, like cooking and weaving and folk arts, which are popular with younger people and people that are sort of more back to basics. And I think that would be a fun thing to add. So I would just like at our next meeting to think about this and come up with a decision about when you think it would work best.
Something to research, the Folk Alliance, they do every year, I don't know what's happened during COVID, but a couple of years back, they actually were in Kansas City, I believe, and they focus on a different style of music, folk music each time, and this particular one was heralding, I think it was in 2010, 2013, somewhere in there. They were heralding the rise of the new rise of the ukulele. But the Folk Alliance has all types of music in the folk genre. But the thing that I wanted to go to that one in particular for, and it just didn't work out schedule-wise as a ukulele player. But they had workshops for people playing all different instruments in different genres. They had jam sessions for people. They had people come in that were the best at what they do, and they sat around in a circle and they taught how to write a song or how to play the instrument better or something. But there were workshops involved. And me, when I'm thinking of spending my own personal money, I'm going to something in Nashville next week for a specific thing that I'm doing. And during that, we're actually going to be listening to some music in Nashville, because we'll be in Nashville. But we're learning. It's a workshop. And I spent, my hard-earned money on that. That's the kind of trips I take, because I'm going to stay in a nice hotel. I'm going to eat nice food while I'm there. Everyone said try Nashville hot chicken, apparently. But, I'm going to see some bands play, and I'm also going to learn. So
No,
that would be nice to
That's
incorporate.
really true. My husband and I are musicians. We're professional musicians, and when we travel, we always go see whatever the major orchestra is in town. And very recently, we were in Lawrence, Kansas, and we went to a French horn convention. I know that sounds really nerdy, but we did. We got to play, which was really fun. And then that evening, we went to a concert in Kansas City and heard the orchestra, which was amazing. So, and I'm real stingy with my money being retired.
There's a crowd of people that will travel for a
Oh, yeah.
workshop because they get more out of it than just going to see a show and drinking beer and eating food. They actually go home with something tangible.
Yeah,
Like
true.
an education. So I
And we
don't know if it's something that we
enjoyed
can
the city
incorporate.
and eating in Kansas City.
And it may just be too much to add to it, because that's a whole nother ball, bag of cats, really, when you start getting into educational workshops and you've got to have an itinerary and.
Why don't we do this? Why don't you put together potential dates for August, okay? Knowing that if we do, the thing is, if we do an August event, it ends up being more outside.
Right.
We go back to the park, we do some of that stuff. And then put together potential November dates. And November dates, because of, we can't, the weather's so hard to predict, that would probably be an event where we would utilize all of the auditorium, including the freshly renovated,
Yeah.
fresh paint in the basement. And then bring that back to us as soon as it's ready, and let us just look at the ideas.
Yeah, we can do that.
Perfect.
I like
All right.
that.
And then we'll look at it, and then we'll decide.
Great.
Okay, auditorium updates. Who's got those? Molly.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
I believe Ron has a little bit of, yep, there we go. So I'll start off with the odd. We had a fantastic event 2 weeks ago. We had Tracy Lawrence, and I believe my little handout should be in your packet, but we had 645 tickets sold with 21 comps that were all per Larry Schaefer. We saw that we had guests mostly from Arkansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma, but a couple from Texas, Illinois, Colorado, Kansas, and Louisiana. We really broke our record in concessions for as long as Madison and I have been here, coming in at a little under $6,000, so that was an awesome, awesome thing. It was about $15 spent per transaction, so maybe that was like 3 beers, sodas, whatever. If you look at the page behind this one, this is the profit margin from that event. So you'll see that number again, that $5,895 as our concessions revenue. We also got $3,000 for our rental fee, so our total revenue was $8,895. Labor expenses came in at a little under $1,000, and then inventory was a little under $1,000 as well. So we were a little under $2,000 for our expenses, and then our profit came in at a little over $7,000. So lastly, I just have my February calendar for my monthly community event calendar that I post on Facebook and have stakeholders contribute their events. I think Ron has a copy of that as well. You can see up on the screen in a second. So I just do a little graphic each month to get all of the community events, because I know they're incredibly hard to track down. So this graphic is always evolving. I mean, I feel like I change it daily, but we put it up around town in the odd windows, and it's all over Facebook. So that's all I got.
I've seen a lot of very positive comments from people every time you publish it, so
Yeah.
people like it.
Good.
I have a question, but it's
Yeah.
probably for Scott. Scott, when we
Oh.
have profit, where does that money go back into budget-wise? Does it go back into the auditorium? Where's the profit go?
The income is posted as odd income,
Okay.
and the expenses are posted under odd operations or concession expense, one of those two accounts.
Or
I think,
contract labor.
Labor would go
contract
under odd operations. So
Okay.
the information off those three accounts is, pretty easy. I track it very well, so it's
Yeah.
easy to pull up something that was 6 months ago and say, oh, yeah, I know what this is, so.
Because a goal, obviously, with renovations and everything that we're doing here at the auditorium, and with trying to get more promoters and doing more shows, is for the auditorium to be 100% self-sufficient, right? We want to get to a place where we don't have what's our current 70, our budget for the auditorium with this year was,
No, I don't remember that number right off the head of
I
mine.
don't either, but to get that down to zero and have the odd making money, this is a
Well,
great,
that is true.
it is a great move towards that. This is a great move towards that, so, well done.
I will keep a side track on that with an Excel
Please do.
spreadsheet for you.
This is already a large improvement. When I came on the commission, it was pretty much a negative $5,000 a month minimally. So this is very good.
Yeah, we were incredibly excited, especially after this past show, so.
basically, since I've been here, all I've ever heard was people saying, why don't we have more events at the auditorium?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if we have this thing booked every week, the whole city of Eureka will thank you, and thank you, thank you.
That's the goal.
It'd be great.
It will be-
Our goal should be to provide a facility to attract promoters to do that, because that's a very risky business to be in.
That's
Yeah.
correct. Concert promotions is, especially in COVID, who wants to get in that business? Not any of us, right?
Right?
So that's why Larry and other promoters, man, we really need those guys. And
Great,
John
and
told
I
them.
know Madison is working on some plans to help nonprofits in town, dance, and those kinds of things, to help us fill in times when we don't have these larger shows. And they do tend to attract, if your kid's in a show, grandma's going to come, I mean, you're going to bring 10 people in with one kid. So we're going to try to make it more available and affordable for the nonprofits.
Yeah.
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you.
Anything else for Molly? Okay, the last thing is that after, we have a vacant seat, I asked Madison, do we know of any policy or procedure for bringing on to fill that seat? And we honestly we don't know that we have anything.
No,
And so I asked her to create one, so this is what we have here.
we did some research. I could find nothing from the CAPC side that's anything kind of like written down. I checked with the city. They knew of nothing that was written down. So I just kind of came up with this. I'll go over it if you guys would like to. This is just an outline. Please provide any advice you have. Step one would be to advertise the vacant seat for 15 to 30 days. We would do this on local media outlets. We'd put it up on our capc.biz website. After that time period, we would allow for interviews for 15 to 30 days. That would be for you guys as commissioners to reach out to these people, those applicants, interview them. Internally, we would check for their Eureka Springs City business license and to see if they're in good standing with the CAPC. Do they file their taxes? Things like that. After that, we would bring those applications to the next available CAPC meeting. That's when you guys would make your decision. Pretty simple. I just think this allows for the amount of time you guys need, the amount of time to have it advertised properly. It doesn't look like, as far as I know, they advertised anything in the past. They may have, but there's nothing documented that said they did that. So I'd like to send this to the mayor, have them vet it, maybe even the municipal league, if you guys think that that is a good idea to have this sent over to them. Maybe they have advice. And then I think my question is, does this need to be voted on by you guys? Does it need to be put in our bylaws? I don't know if this is kind of an internal office procedure. Does that need to go in your bylaws? I don't know. So any advice you guys have on that would be great.
I have an idea. Everybody that pays in and qualifies, we should know what that business is, right? So can we not send like a letter to each one, every single one, so everybody knows that it's open, so that everybody has potential to come put application, and then maybe we'll have quite a few to look from, and then we can interview and actually pick some great candidates. But I want everybody to be involved and included and know about it, because there's probably people in the woodwork that don't even know there's an opening, but would be willing to dedicate their time for this.
So just so I understand, we would need to send out a letter to all of our tax collectors?
CAPC, yeah. directly.
tax-
So just like the restaurants, bars,
Can-
lodging.
Is
all
that
pay
easily
in.
done, Scott? So this is.
Just
kind of
an
what you're
idea. I
talking
just
about.
thought to
It's
be
a really good
inclusive.
idea. And it's funny you're talking about this. Libby and I are actually looking into a CRM software. Besides QuickBooks, there has been no historically, there has been no software that the CAPC has uses to keep our stakeholders collected, right? So, there are things like Salesforce, which is really more on the sales sides of things, but you could put down all of our tax collectors, all of their contact information, what they do, everything like that. We don't have something like that besides our QuickBooks. So,
I used 17 hats was for me because I was in photography and design, and it actually fit that. It was made for photography, for wedding photographers particularly, but it worked for design studios.
Yep.
There's other ones out there like Acorn.
yeah.
We use
and several
Freshworks
others.
at my company.
Okay.
Sales, but it actually, I was looking at today, it's got all kinds. You can type to the websites.
What's
promote
that, Nick?
things. Freshworks.
I haven't seen that one.
No, it's got a lot of neat options. It's a newer take on it, like a younger blood, but
Yeah, that's
they've been
good.
nothing but helpful. And I'm the one that
It
manages the CRM.
It
Yeah.
would be a good
So-
idea because it revolutionized me as an independent, designer running a studio, able
Yeah.
to handle all my clients, send out my invoices, send out my quotes, estimates, reminders,
Yeah.
all of it.
James, Carol, I don't mean to cut you
No,
off.
it's okay.
But thoughts on this? I mean, traditionally, you guys would have more experience on onboarding commissioners than the rest of us. And so has there ever been a policy or a procedure that was followed?
No, we would just usually announce at the meeting, the newspapers would pick it up that there's a vacancy, and that would be about the
And that was right?
In the city, Kim always puts it on the city website.
Yeah, I think somebody told somebody who
Yeah.
told some place that I was eating dinner at, and they said, hey, you were in advertising, you'd be good at it, and that's the only way I knew about it. So,
Yeah, it's all like hearsay and by chance.
It's crazy.
'Cause I do agree that most people don't know about this, right?
If everybody had an opportunity, I think we
Everybody should have an
would
opportunity.
They should.
have lots
I get it.
of people in it. I think that'd be great.
So-
I think,
okay.
yeah, we should also let the people know when our meetings are, because, they need to be available on the second and fourth Wednesdays,
True, yeah.
and that they will undergo a background check because of the state and city. So you need to let them know that in advance.
Okay.
So what about the people that are delinquent on their taxes? Do they get notified?
Do they get notified?
Notified of the commission? What was it you were talking about? Notifying,
That
I
there's an
guess you
opening?
would.
Yeah,
You'd have to include everybody, but then we could vet accordingly. If they're not paying.
Correct.
Then you go, okay, they're like here, check for business to be in good standing. And you go, okay, let's not interview this person,
Yeah, I understand.
At the discretion
good.
of legit reasons why,
good
not just
standing,
because we don't like them.
So, Madison, will you check into how difficult, since we don't have that software, how difficult is it going to be to actually send out that notification?
Yeah,
And figure out what the process is, and then I do think this is something that I want us to talk about again, about do we want to look at our bylaws and update the bylaws so it's in there, or do we just want to make a policy that we pass, that these guys have in their policies and procedures? But I think it's important, so that moving forward, everybody just has, it's nice to have a policy where people just go, step 1, step 2, step 3, we got it done.
So do we not have an email list we can just send an email to?
well, so we have Mailchimp.
Yeah, okay.
Now, it doesn't seem like it has been regularly updated in the past years. So we
I
think
doubt
there's
it
a
would
lot
be
of
complete.
misinformation and things like that.
I think the email list would probably not be complete, that would be the problem, and then we would end up emailing people and not get everybody.
I think a letter to their formal address, so that way they have the fair chance of getting it and won't get lost in their spam box or whatever.
Okay.
Whatever address, we would send them a notification that they're delinquent to, and just send them, by the way, reach out. We'd love to have you.
Okay.
Good idea.
Look, we're early. We got out of here without an hour. I mean, y'all can sit around for another 5 minutes if you want to, but
No, we're not
thank
allowed
you
to.
so much.
We're not allowed to do that.
Appreciate everybody, and we'll let the staff get started on this. We'll get all this back on. Some of this is pretty important, so we'll stay on top of these things. Reach out to the staff, figure out what you want to do, and let's get it done.
Sounds good.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great night.
Open now?
not till March 10th.
Okay.